Welcome to Tea for Two, the PCW podcast. My name is Pastor Marcy Ryan,
And my name is Paul Sanner. I'm the director of music.
and our Tea for Two PCW podcast is here where we get to know people in our community and hear stories of transformation.
You might
So,
wonder
yeah,
what possessed us to say, hey, let's do a podcast. Why are we here today? Well, it's fun. Um, in church, what we hope to do is build community
mhm,
and build connection between everyone in our community, between ourselves, and all the people in church and in Westfield and greater Westfield and the world.
mhm.
Make it a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I know that when we were talking about this initially, Paul, is that just like how to get to know our neighbors and getting to know people, not only who we might sit next to in church, but also who we might see outside of the church walls. And I know for me, one of the things that, Jesus' commandment of love your neighbor as yourself, it is hard to love your neighbor when you don't know your neighbor. And I would even say also, when you know your neighbor, it's easy to love them. And so, this is, I think, one of the things we're hoping for in this podcast is that we can spend time with one another to get to know one another and maybe even hear some stories of transformation in the midst of that, too.
That is awesome. So I'm looking forward to this,
Yeah.
bringing
And
people together. Um,
I'm curious, like, okay, so the name of this,
well,
like,
so how did we get the name? Well,
yeah,
drinking tea is fun. I'm a musician, so I know the song Tea for Two. That was a moment. That was just a happenstance.
yeah.
But we can also spill tea, but hopefully we'll only be spilling good tea on in this podcast. But
Yeah.
I am drinking Earl Grey tea today.
With
And
a
this mug, which says Abbey Road on it, was given to me by my awesome, caring, kind wife, Kim, after a business trip she took to London a couple of years ago.
oh,
So,
awesome.
cheers.
Cheers
And
to that.
you?
And the tea that I am drinking today, I thought this was so funny. It's called Perfect Peach, and the tagline to it is just like a freshly baked peach pie, but in a teacup. Why not? And the mug I am drinking out of, it says, Pastor warning, anything you say or do could be used in a sermon, which I think is a truth fact. I jokingly say to friends of mine that that's why I do anything fun is for sermon material. So cheers to that.
I will put in a plug to come to PCW on a Sunday sometime
Mm,
and hear a sermon, perhaps from Marcy, perhaps from our new interim
yeah,
head of staff pastor, Reverend Leslie Dobbs Alsop.
maybe in the future, a story that comes from Tea for Two,
Perhaps
perhaps.
I would, anything is possible in the world. And that's another reason to have a podcast, to talk about all the possible things, all the possible wonderful things that can happen in the world
Yeah.
as it transforms or is transformed.
Mm. Amen. Amen to that. Um, so this is our first episode, and so we sort of thought this would be a good time to do some expectation setting, kind of like what to expect in the future, but also knowing that because this is so new, things might actually just naturally evolve and change over time. But we know that there's going to be some new folks who are either stepping into leadership. We have an interim. We have elders and deacons, CNC members, that's congregational nominating committee members. But then we have so many people in the church who we want to get to know and who we want you all to get to know a little bit more too. And so we're hoping that a part of our time together is that we get to know we get to know and have their story be told. Um, I think one thing that's so beautiful about stories is that everyone has a story and everyone's story matters. And so we're hoping that in the midst of this time together, we can have people be known. Um, but that can be in a range of things from maybe more profound and deep questions to a little bit more silly natured and fun because who doesn't want levity, more levity and play in their life? So we're hoping to bring people together by having folks share their story.
And when we'll meet people in the congregation and people in roles in the congregation, but we also look forward to meeting people from outside of the congregation itself, people in our community, people that we work with in various programs that we partner with as a congregation, but also we all know fascinating people that
Mm,
do wonderful things in the world. So we look forward to hearing stories from some of those people that we know as well.
yeah, absolutely. So this first episode is really just a intro. And so we want to say, I think on behalf of both of us, just a welcome and so
Hello.
glad that you have joined us for this first episode. Really, it's the prelude or the prequel to what will be.
You might even say practice.
You might even say this was just our practice one. Um,
Soft opening.
yeah, the soft opening, exactly. Which apparently, Paul, you don't like that phrase. You don't like the soft opening.
But then sometimes it's a great phrase. Like now, goes
Sometimes
to
it's a good
show.
phrase.
Don't ever be too convinced of anything. Um,
Absolutely. So we want to say welcome and so glad that you are listening to us. And we wanted to have some sort of wrap up question that we're going to both answer, but then also if you want to answer it and something that you can sort of mull over and chew on and maybe even talk about at the family table or contact a friend or a family member and ask them this question too. Um, so, Paul, our question is what has made you glad today?
well, a thing
Paul,
that
what
has
has made
made
you
what has made me glad is that I made official some vacation dates
glad?
in our family and my work calendar for August.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to some time away together, and it's always a glad thing to set aside time for restoration.
Hmm. Oh, that's so wonderful.
What has made you glad today, Pastor Marcy?
Um, I am thinking of not to say that the rest of my day was not gladdening, but I'm thinking of the first moment I woke up this morning. I woke up to a purring cat right by my head, and um, there's nothing like it. Having a fur family creature, a beloved pet, be there and calmed down. I have a cat named Bernard, and love Bernard. He can also be a bit of a terror at night. He has a tendency to have some zoomies, and so to wake up to him just purring and resting right by me just made me very glad. And it was a great way to begin my day.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
And in our planning, we didn't talk about maybe the best way to sign off from this podcast.
Yes.
Um, I'm just going to say to you, Marcy, and everyone, peace be with you.
Hmm. And also with you. Thank you so much. And see you next time at Tea for Two, the PCW podcast.